recording. Welcome everyone. So today's webinar, we will be reviewing the accountability report. And as always, our call is being recorded. The recording as well as the slide deck will be available on the chapter leader resource area following the call. So you will absolutely have access to all of this material, and let us know if you have any issues logging into the resource area. Carrie or I are happy to help you. With that, let's go ahead and dive into the content. We'll try to keep this fun. I know this subject isn't as exciting as some, but we are going to go through the report for this year and what has changed specifically. We want to call that out, and any tips that we have for you for completing this and where you'll find all the information. So the chapter requirements, we have a few items in this little circle that really help to create and drive the member value. It's so important that chapter members get the most value out of their chapter participation. So we do have some organizational minimum requirements. These requirements are embedded within the accountability report, and per the chapter's affiliate agreement, all chapters are required to follow. So I'll briefly go around this circle, and just starting here in the top left, that the chapter board is elected, and all of those board members must be HIMSS members as well. So everyone that's serving on your board, you have to be both a HIMSS member for 1 year as well as a chapter member. And going down around the circle, the chapter board is active. You must meet at least 4 times per year. We want to ensure that the chapter has adequate time to do short and long-term planning. I believe most boards meet monthly, so hopefully 4 times a year is a very easy requirement for all of you to meet. The board also maintains governance in good standing, so that means that you're going to follow all the local laws, HIMSS policies, affiliate agreement, and just maintain yourselves in good standing. You're also going to perform organizational management duties that ensure the chapter is sustainable. So what that means is that you are not going to go off and have a big party tomorrow and spend all of your money on one big event. You're going to make smart decisions to ensure that the chapter is sustainable in the long run. That also means maintaining an active website, reporting to HIMSS, your financial audit, maintaining your bank account, your management tools, your documents. You want to have a historical record. We recommend storing those in a place that all the board members will have access to, such as the OneDrive, which HIMSS provides at no cost. And you're also using correct branding. Also want to communicate with members up to, or at least 4 times a year. Most chapters communicate a lot more than 4 times a year. That can be emails, social media posts, but making sure that you are in regular communication with your members and they know about your upcoming events and education. And then the last thing in the top right, providing the education. Chapters must host a minimum of 10 education hours per year for members and providing the CP and CA HIMSS CEUs. Those education hours can be in person or virtual. And we did lower that from last year. So for those of you that have been around for a few years, you'll remember it used to be 12 hours. We have lowered that to 10. We know most chapters go above and beyond, so we're not worried about you at all because you're doing phenomenal work out there. But we also do know that the events and education industry can be a little bit saturated, and we want you to be partnering and cross-promoting. And so we did lower that to 10 education hours, and then providing network and advocacy activities to enhance your member value. Let's go on to the next slide. So the accountability reporting timeline, you'll see on the left here that the first report is due in July, by July 1st. You are more than welcome and encouraged to submit any of these early. You can submit them all at once if you would like, but these are the due dates. So by July 1st, your new board should be in place. Your election should be completed. And so making sure that your new board is submitted to HIMSS by July 1st. By August 1st, you are submitting your administrative report, and by November 1st, the financial report. Next slide. So the submission process, what you'll want to do first is to view the completion guide and download all of the templates. Those are posted on the chapter leader resource area. Also, Carrie put a very thorough post into the chat of all the direct survey links and where you will find the reporting tools and templates. So after you have viewed the completion guide, you've downloaded the templates, you'll want to access the links to each report. Complete the report with relevant board members. It's up to the individual board who works on, completes, and submits each report, but we do recommend that it's done as a group and you're transparent with the full board. It's going to be a whole lot smoother process if the burden isn't on just one individual, and we encourage you not to work in silos, but work together and share updates with the whole board. We want everyone to be in the loop throughout this process. And then lastly, submitting prior to deadline, which is the July 1st, August 1st, and November 1st deadlines. Next slide. All right, so now we're going to dive in to each section of the 3 reports. So the first report, which is due July 1st, is your board list. We recommend that you submit it immediately after your election. So once your election closes, go ahead and complete the template and submit your board list. You do not need to wait till July 1st. That's just the deadline for having the new board in place. And on this slide, there's a few reminders as you're going through the election process that the chapter must hold an election in accordance with the term limits that are in your chapter bylaws. All chapter members have the opportunity to vote for or against candidates in the election. And chapter board members must abide by all HIMSS policies, procedures, bylaws, affiliate agreement, and any additional documentation. Let's dive in on the next slide to what that looks like. So we have some upcoming changes, which we'll review all of the changes in each one of the 3 submissions. So for the board list, the change this year is the list of committees is no longer part of the board template. We're trying to make this as easy as possible for you to complete. So it will be a checkbox format right in the survey. You can just check the box like it says, all the committees that you have within your chapter. And then the new items on the board list is we're going to be asking you to identify 2 individuals to have access to the member roster download portal. This is something new this year. In the past, we did auto emails of the board or of the member roster. We are going away from the auto emails. It's not very secure, and our IT team has recommended against that. And so we're in the process of creating a chapter leader portal, and the member roster will be able to be run real time from that portal and then downloaded, which is great news for all of you because that means you're going to have more access to your member roster data instead of waiting for the monthly roster. 2 individuals from the board will be able to log into this portal and get that information real time. It's not live yet, hopefully very soon, but you'll be able to identify those 2 individuals through the board list report. And then the other new item is just indicating if you use the HIMSS provided group board email. If you indicate yes, then we will be updating that for you with your board that you submitted through the template. Next slide. All right, so what's on this report? We're going to ask you to confirm that an election was held in accordance with your chapter bylaws. It's a simple yes, no, so that one's pretty easy. Hopefully everyone can say yes. You are going to submit the chapter board list via the template that we provide. This also includes if you have any paid positions for the chapter. So if you do have a chapter admin, please include that individual on the board list template. And then all more board members must be HIMSS and chapter members in good standing for a minimum of 1 year. And if you need any help verifying HIMSS membership for specific individuals, please reach out to myself or Carrie. We're happy to help you do that. Why it is important for us to have this information. We really need to have an updated board list on file at all times. So if any of your information changes throughout the year, if a board member steps down, a new one is added, please reach out and make sure that we have an updated board list on file. We offer directors and officers insurance to protect board members against any potential liability. So those that are protected are the ones that are on file with HIMSS as chapter board members. We also want to ensure that we're communicating with the correct individuals. You probably see several emails from myself, Carrie, the chapter's inbox. We're getting those email addresses based on who you're telling us to communicate with. So we want to make sure that we're communicating with the right folks. It also gives everyone access to chapter leader tools and resources. The chapter leader resource area is a great place to log in and get your templates and resources, but we need to know who we should be giving access to, who we should be giving access to the OneDrive as well. And that all comes directly from the board list. And also for those who will be able to access specific reports. Next slide. Now here's just a screenshot of the board list template. Should be very easy and straightforward for you to complete, but if you have questions, reach out to myself or Carrie. We're happy to help. But it's a very simple template with your board members, committee chairs, and then if you have any paid positions within your chapter, if you do not, just leave it blank. Next slide. Right, now we're on to the administrative report. So 1 down, 2 to go. The administrative report is due by August 1st. And within the administrative report, you're going to submit the number of education and networking advocacy hours held in the past fiscal year. You're going to show that the board has met 4 times within the last fiscal year, complete a self-assessment, and then prepare your annual plan. Next slide. So a few changes for this year. First is instead of uploading your meeting minutes, we're just going to ask that you go ahead and put them on the OneDrive account. That should make it a lot easier as most chapters already save their meeting minutes to the OneDrive, then you don't have to do anything at all. But we're trying to make this as easy as possible for all of you. Also, we're going to ask you to confirm creation of the annual plan. You can go ahead and save it in the OneDrive and you will not need to upload that either. A couple new things within the administrative report. First is the opportunity to provide sponsorship information. So if you would like HIMSS to help promote any chapter sponsorship opportunities, you can put a URL of where your sponsorship opportunities live online. And we'll be sharing those with our corporate membership team, among others, for opportunities. So we're happy to help promote sponsorships. We just need to make sure we have the right information. And then one more new item is confirming member and board engagement activities. So it's things like if you offer a certification review course or if you offer a scholarship, those type of board and member engagement activities. It'll just be a quick checkbox if you do those. On to the next slide. All right, so diving into the content of the administrative report. So you'll need to show that the chapter has provided a minimum of 10 educational opportunities for members in your territory. There is a chapter event template, and this is just a sample here of what is on the template, but you just fill that out and upload it directly. Next slide. All right, self-assessment. Hopefully this is really easy as well. This is a checkbox format to complete a self-assessment for the previous fiscal year, and sharing any relevant examples of your successes and challenges. So we'll ask you to go through these 5 sections here, just giving yourself a self-assessment. This also helps our team to know what our training opportunities need to be for next year. So if everyone is saying, you know, I'm really struggling with marketing, we know for next year that's something we need to focus on. And it helps us to best tailor our services to you. It also helps us to identify successes of chapters that we should be spotlighting. So we really use this information and reflect on it as well, as it helps us to better support you. Next slide. All right, so the steps for creating an annual plan. The annual plan helps the board determine what the chapter will focus on for the next year. We do not require it to be a specific length or in a specific format. It's really whatever works best for the chapter board. Some like to put it in PowerPoint, some like to put it in Word. Others have very long paragraphs, some have a few bullets. Whatever works best that's going to be most valuable for your chapter board is fine. But the plan should address membership growth, member satisfaction, educational programming, communication, and member engagement. So within the admin report, the action that you will be taking is just indicating that your chapter has created an annual plan. And if you need any help, reach out to myself or Carrie. Next slide. Perfect. Go ahead, Carrie.
All right, you've made it 2/3 of the way through the submission. For the financial report, we do give you some extra time to bring all the numbers together. So that third and final report is due on November 1st. And included in that is the financial report for the previous fiscal year, as well as an audit, which we'll get into details of that. And then ahead of the US deadline of November 15th, we ask you to confirm that you filed all local and federal obligations, with the exception of our Canadian chapters. And then we also ask you to submit the budget for the new fiscal year. So some of the changes for this year is we have 2 new questions. One is to confirm your tax exemption, whether you have an action or inaction there. And then we have a new task to confirm that you are updating your responsible party, which is through a new IRS form. And then simplification we've made is for the financial review checklist. Instead of having you fill out a separate document and get the actual signatures on the audit, we just ask you to add the auditor's names within the form. And then an update is that HIMSS does have a new address that you can use on any of your financial documentation. So make sure that you remove any address that states Monroe or New Orleans Street. The current address is on Van Buren Street. So we will have this in the slides afterwards. You can make sure you use that new address. So section 1 is the financial report, and that is the information of the previous fiscal year. We do provide a spreadsheet that you can use, or you can use your own template, whichever is easiest for you. You also have the option to combine this with the budget for the new fiscal year. And we ask you to make sure you're double checking your numbers, making sure everything matches up and that you show both positive and negative numbers. And then for the financial review and audit, it's the same questions you're familiar with for 1 through 8. And then question 9 is new to confirm that you're filing that form 8822B to update the responsible party. And then, as I shared, instead of having the auditors fill out this checklist and sign it, once they confirm with you that they've audited and shared their responses, you can just enter their names or the name of the accountant. So hopefully this simplifies the process for you. And then we do have a link for the IRS form 8822B. And just to note, you do have 60 days to submit this form after the election. So just keep that in mind. And being the responsible party is really just saying that you're the point of contact and does not imply any tax liability. And the HIMSS chapter directors and officers insurance does offer any protection if you're concerned about that. And then for the year-end tax filing, within the US chapters and Puerto Rico chapter, you do need to submit the Form 990, and which form exactly depends on your gross receipts. So we recommend you go to the IRS website to see which form you need to file. And again, that is due to the IRS by November 15th, but we ask that you do that before November 1st, just to make sure you have time to get everything submitted on time. And then a new question we're asking is about the tax exemption. So normally chapters do not need to file for tax exemption, and you'll be included under the HIMSS group exemption. But if the chapter does not file their taxes or they have not filed taxes in the past, then they are no longer included in the group exemption and will need to apply independently going forward. And then the last piece of this is the budget for the current year. So again, you can use your own format or use our provided template to share what the budget is for FY25. So I know we went through it all pretty quickly. Hopefully our simplifications will make this easier for you. If you have any questions, please feel free to take yourself off mute or enter a question in chat. If you have any chapter specific questions, please reach out to myself or Angie now or at any time throughout the year. Okay, while we're waiting for any questions about accountability reporting to come in, I'm going to have a few reminders. One is we are looking for volunteers for the chapter's task force, as well as leadership for the chapter advocacy task force. You can use this QR code or grab the link from the CLRA. Applications are due by June 17th, and we hope you're interested in this. And you've seen a lot of our CTF members on our webinars, networking calls, and behind the scenes providing updated resources. So if you've ever considered that, please apply within the next few days. And then in case you didn't see our announcement, we're really excited to bring back in-person chapter leader exchange this year. Chapter leader exchange will be in San Antonio, September 16th and 17th. Registration will open this summer, but we want to make sure you had the date so we can have as many of you with us in person in Texas. And then we have a few other virtual events coming up this summer. So this Friday is the chapter's professional certification instructor course, which is offered by Mara Diker. Usually this course costs $99, but for June 14th, the course will be free. You get access to all of her training as well as resources that she updates throughout the year. And then on June 20th, we'll have a town hall with Hal Wolf. And when you register, we ask that you submit any questions that you may have for him so he can address those during the call. And on July 16th, we have the chapter leader onboarding. So please make sure you share that with any incoming chapter leaders just to make sure they can save that time for the onboarding.
Carrie, someone asked in chat to go back to slide 20. So just a few back to look again at the tax exemption requirement.
Right. So if your chapter does file taxes each year, you will not need to file for tax exemption as you'll be included under the HIMSS group exemption. If your chapter has not filed, then you will need to file for tax exemption independently.
And we have a question in chat about chapter leader exchange, which is great. So we will be providing a stipend to each chapter. The stipend will depend on how far you are to San Antonio. So if you live in San Antonio, your stipend is going to be smaller than if you live in, say, Washington State, because it's going to cost you a little bit more money to get there if you live in Washington versus being local. And so the stipend will be based on location from San Antonio. We will provide one comp registration per chapter as well. If the chapter would like to send additional leaders to chapter leader exchange, they are more than welcome to attend. They will need to just pay for the registration, which will be $125. And then if you want to use part of the stipend for more than one individual, you can. Or if the chapter would like to fund sending additional representatives, that's fine as well. So hopefully that clarifies that HIMSS is planning to give funds to hopefully cover one individual.
We have
Will this, oh, good.
Go ahead.
Will this recording be made available for download? Yes, absolutely. So we will be posting this on the chapter leader resource area following the call. You will have both the recording and the slide deck.
We have no more questions. We can give you all some much needed time back. We will follow up with the recording link. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us with any future questions. Thank you all for joining.
Bye, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.